All right, breaking news coming in Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh, TCS officials have kept physicians and psychiatrists ready to attend to any emergency situations in case laid-off employees fall sick or suffer a heart attack. Most employees being terminated are being made to sit at least 20 meters apart in the center at different TCS offices in the south, is what we are learning. Shikha, my colleague, is joining us on the broadcast to give us more details about this. Shikha, what more can you tell us about this exercise being undertaken by TCS?
Yes, Vineet, this is an exclusive story. We've also been tracking the big developments around the TCS layoffs. What we found out from officials of Unite, which is a union of IT and ITES employees, is that the layoffs have impacted at least 60,000 people across the country. Unite has leveled very serious allegations against TCS, alleging that down south in Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh, there are centers of the company where employees are being called and being given information about their termination, where the company has kept ready physicians and other doctors to ensure that in case an employee falls sick, he or she can be taken care of. Even psychiatrists are there. We are learning. These are serious allegations leveled by Unite, and TCS has now issued a statement to us in connection with the same, denying these allegations as misleading. TCS has told us that the layoffs are impacting only 2% of its workforce, as they have declared earlier, and not what the officials of Unite or other trade unions are suggesting. So clearly there are two sides of stories, but the trade unions have said that they're going to continue to help the employees that are being laid off by TCS. And they've also told us that not only these layoffs are happening down south, but also in the western part of the country, in Mumbai, Pune. Pune is one city where layoffs have happened at a major scale, and now the layoffs have reached Delhi NCR as well. Unite officials say that the layoffs in Delhi
with us,
NCR
Shikha. In fact, the US Senate Judiciary Committee has questioned TCS CEO Kriti Vasan on mass layoffs. NewsX has accessed 9 questions raised to the CEO. Time till the 10th of October has been given to answer the below questions. Of course, the number one is, why is TCS hiring foreign tech workers when hundreds of thousands of American tech workers have been laid off over the past few years, is one of those questions. Shikha, of course, there is grilling happening from the American side as well towards TCS.
Yes, absolutely. The impact is not only limited to India. We are learning that the US Judiciary Committee, its chairman and a ranking member, have shot off 9 questions to the CEO of Infosys, where they have also underlined that they're concerned about the layoffs also happening abroad. These 9 questions include: why is TCS hiring foreign tech workers when hundreds of thousands of American tech workers have been laid off over the past few years? Plus, what the ranking member and the chairman are asking is, does TCS make a good faith effort to fill in open positions with Americans before filing H-1B petitions? And they've also asked for explanations in detail. So clearly, this is a heightening of this matter. This missive has been shot off to the CEO of Infosys on 24th of September. That's what we are learning. We've accessed this particular letter, and this only shows that even the US is concerned about the layoffs. But clearly the US has more to do in connection with the layoffs and ensuring the well-being of the employees, because what we're seeing as of now is...
Thank you for that. All right, moving on. The United States federal government shutdown has entered its second day on the 2nd of October, and after the Trump administration and the Democrats failed to strike a deal to extend funding, along with risking the furlough or possible permanent layoff of thousands of federal workers. The first U.S. government shutdown in nearly 7 years is also set to jeopardize the crucial food assistance for about 6.7 million low-income American citizens and terminate several clean energy projects in the nation. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has also stated that U.S. economic growth could be hurt by the government shutdown, with the country's GDP possibly being negatively impacted. Now, U.S. President Donald Trump is also expected to meet with Director of the Office of Management and Budget Russell Vought to discuss cutting democratic agencies, which he has labelled as political scams. There is no set endpoint to the deadlock, with the past shutdowns having lasted from a few days to more than a month. And as the political blame game escalates, billions of Americans are expected to be affected by ensuing situation. And we will discuss this with our guest. Joining us on the show is Professor Madhav Nalapat, Editorial Director of the Sunday Guardian. Mr. Andrew Latham, Professor of International Relations, is joining us from Minneapolis in the United States. Purnima Nath, Republican leader, is also with us on the show. But before that, let's take you to the big screen and show you what kind of an impact is this shutdown going to have, and what are some of the latest developments taking place as a result of this shutdown, which is in its second day. First up, food aid program for nearly 6.7 million low-income Americans is threatened. It could also be shut. It could also be stopped. So that is a big problem that is going to be, in fact, worrying a number of people. Trump administration has announced plans to terminate several clean energy projects. Trump, in fact, had minced no words. He said that when he was going to become president, he was going to be targeting a number of these agencies which he thought were political scams. The Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, has said that the US GDP could take a hit due to this particular shutdown. Nobody knows how long this shutdown is going to last, but the fact of the matter is that there is no business taking place at this point in time, at least from the government side. Trump to meet OMB Director Russell Vought to discuss cutting democratic agencies as well. As Trump, since he's taken office, he's cut down on a number of such agencies and institutions as well. Iconic national sites such as the Liberty Bell, Pennsylvania, and Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, have been shuttered as well, because there are no governmental employees to man them or monitor what's happening in and around these sites. So that's another trouble that's come along with this shutdown. Emergency disaster relief efforts will carry on, but other disaster related activities will also slow down. So this is, of course, another jeopardizing situation for a number of citizens, and this could have a long-term impact on the safety of the situation as well. WIC program supporting women, infants and children is expected to deplete its fund very soon, and with this shutdown in place, the replenishment is perhaps not going to take place, and this again puts a number of these people involved with these efforts in a lot of trouble, and of course an uncertain future as well as to when this shutdown is going to in fact lift and when they will get that money. Trump says that Democrats want to give healthcare money to illegal aliens amidst a deadlock over Democrats' healthcare demands as well. Remember, Donald Trump was against Obamacare. He was against whatever the Democrats brought in when it came to healthcare. He's had his own set of ideas when it comes to reforms and healthcare bills, but none of that has come forth, or at least been tabled in the House. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt has said that federal layoffs due to shutdown are imminent. There have been already close to about 5,000 to 6,000 people who've been sacked in various departments. This means more layoffs will be coming. The FBI also sacked a number of people, as was also corroborated by Kash Patel. And the shutdown is expected to extend till at least Friday, with the Senate out of session on Thursday due to Yom Kippur, which is the important day, important festival for the Jewish community. We'll in fact talk about this. We'll try and understand what does this mean for people who are directly involved over here. I'm going to rope in Mr. Andrew Latham first and understand from him what is exactly going on, and how is this likely to impact, Mr. Latham, the common American who has perhaps nothing to do with the shutdown and is also not at fault when it comes to this back and forth or this tug of war between the Democrats and the Republicans.
Very good multi-layered question. First of all, it's important to point out that, like India, the United States is a federal system, so it's the federal government that's partly shut down. State governments continue to deliver services, as do municipal and regional governments across the country. So it's not a complete government shutdown. Even at the federal or national level, it's only a partial shutdown. The military and the FBI and essential services, as they are defined in law, continue to provide services, continue to do what they're paid to do, and they continue to being paid to do what they're paid to do. But the rub comes, of course, where the non-essential workers are involved, and they are being laid off. So federal oversight of the markets, for example. Welfare state payments continue apace, Medicaid, Medicare, old age pensions, things like that. But a variety of other permits, passport applications, visa applications, things like that, they won't be happening. Even air traffic control, which is an essential service and which will continue, the view is based on the last anomalously long, month-long shutdown, that air traffic will be delayed as well, and lots of flights will end up being canceled. If this lasts, like most of these do, for merely a few days, then neither the GDP nor the average American will be terribly badly impacted by this. Inconvenience, perhaps, but not catastrophic. If this goes longer than a month, as did the last one in 2018, 2019, then we'll see the knock-on effects. They'll be a little more profound, I think. But we're not there yet. And I'm of two minds here. It's most of these shutdowns last days, maybe a week or two. They don't last months. But the trend line has been that they've been getting longer because of the polarization in the political system here in the U.S. The Democrats want to blame the Republicans for this. The Republicans want to blame the Democrats for this. As the pain goes up, both parties will come under pressure to come to an agreement, but that might take weeks, not days.
All right, Professor Nalapat, so your assessment of the situation over here, and Donald Trump, of course, looking at more layoffs is also something which, was predictable. I've been following, the Senate hearing when it comes to Kash Patel and the kind of, allegations that he's been receiving. And the number one was that he was responsible directly through Donald Trump for laying off a number of people in FBI who did not sort of consent with the ideas that Donald Trump brought in the larger context and Trump's idiosyncrasies. What does this shutdown mean?
Look, Vineet, one of the main reasons for the Democrats being opposed to shutdown is the fact that President Trump refused to allow an extension of some aspects of the Affordable Care Act. Now, the Affordable Care Act is taken advantage of not only by Democrats, but Republicans as well. Several of these so-called democratic programs are taken advantage of by underprivileged people. And you can have underprivileged people who frankly voted in large numbers for Donald Trump on the promise of a better life. Instead of it, what's happening? They're losing their jobs. They're seeing the income reduced. And they're losing access to a lot of social services. Donald Trump has cost about $3 trillion. And how has he done that? Mainly by tax cuts, and not tax cuts to the middle class or the poor, tax cuts to the wealthy. So essentially, he's basically catering to his own class, the billionaire class. As a consequence, he's becoming unpopular. The Republicans are becoming unpopular. The untold story in this particular shutdown is how many Republicans are opposed to this immense rise in expenditure. Quite a lot of them. So 3 Democrats have voted in favor of this, basically, to avoid this shutdown. In other words, in favor of steps such as extending the Affordable Care Act. I think all 3 are going to face primary challenges, and all 3 are likely to be ex-House representatives by the time the next election comes next year. I want to say, Vineet, that, as you said, idiosyncrasy. I mean, we in India, people like us, who have for a long time been supporters of President Trump, we are perplexed at the twists and turns he's taking and the U-turns he's taking. U-turn sharply different from his earlier position, sharply different from his stated position. And so far as healthcare is concerned, the reason why nothing has come to the table as far as Trump is concerned, if you want healthcare, you pay for it, and if you can afford it. And if you can't afford it, well, it's too bad. There's no reason to do anything for you. And that's his basic approach to healthcare. That's his basic approach to services. That's his basic approach to even these welfare measures. I mean, there's been a scalpel to several of them already. So I'd like to say that in my view, Vineet, this is becoming unsustainable even for his own party. And I think it's going to be a matter of months before his party basically tells Donald Trump, either you go back to what you were, as a candidate and what you were in the initial months of your presidency, or please, we have got a problem. Remember, there's something called the 25th Amendment to the US Constitution, and that provides for a president to be temporarily or completely removed from office. I have a feeling, very honestly, and of course, Republican supporters continue in public to keep supporting him, even though they know some of his policies are indefensible. They come to different countries and support him there and become very unpopular in those countries as a result. But frankly, he's against the whole world. His belief is the whole world should sacrifice in order to ensure that America cut deficit, that he himself has raised record numbers by record tax cuts, which he's proud of, which he boasts about. So frankly, Vineet, there's a recipe for disaster for his party, and before the 2026 election rolls by, I expect to see some pushback from them. Otherwise, they're going to be in deep trouble in the 2026 midterms, and both the House and the Senate will go to the control of the Democrats. Thereafter, President Trump becomes a lame duck president. Vineet.
You're absolutely right, sir. In fact, before we go to Purnima Nath, some breaking news coming in. NASA staff and contractors working on Artemis, which is the moon exploration program that contracts with Elon Musk's SpaceX and Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin, will stay on the job during the shutdown, but will be paid only after the shutdown ends. This comes after 15,000 NASA employees, close to 80% of its workforce, were told to stay home as the shutdown began. Purnima Nath, your reaction to what Professor Nalapat said, that Donald Trump perhaps may be entering a territory which could be, a sort of a predicament for his own supporters and his own Republican Party as well.
Namaskar, thank you so much for having me. Happy Dussehra to you all in India. First of all, I'd say that Professor Nalapat is actually correct. Folks like us who actually supported President Donald Trump, and particularly for me, who had no inherent knowledge about politics and came to politics, supported him extremely from a perspective of energy, financial, even campaign perspective, brought in Hindu voters, not just voting for myself and convinced to be voting for himself. We're led to believe that he was somebody that he's actually not. Trump 2.0 has been absolutely disappointing for somebody like me who has worked tirelessly for bringing campaigning conservative values and also bringing in Hindus through Hindus and Trump and I exit, and actually flipping voters from the Democratic side to Republican side, specifically talking about how Republican Party started their journey by freeing slaves, and there's no way on, in this earth I've ever thought or even imagined that this particular administration is going to flip like that so quickly and rapidly, and it's actually dangerous. I'll tell you a few examples. For instance, this to me overall looks like a consolidation of power, and I'll tell you why. I'm seeing a lot of similarities into fascist takeover, whether it is crushing the opposition, literally one-sided loyalty, undermining the democratic frameworks of this of the country, militarizing the government, and etc. And overall, it's looking like, what is it looking like? It's basically in the center, Donald Trump and his business crony buddies are going to be capturing power when people will have no authority, and dissent is going to be completely crushed. And it's basically coming to the replaying of Mussolini, Hitlerianism. This is not what I voted for, and this is extremely concerning. Why, I'll tell you. Mr. Latham actually said about how like India, this is federal. I'll tell you one particular difference between India and US. This state has strong independence. You cannot, this center, federal government simply can't go and take over a particular state, and this is exactly what's happening. And if you see, even even the militarization of the cities, whether Chicago, the question is not whether the violence, the crime needs to be addressed, but they have to work with the government in the states. It's not like they can literally militarize states and the cities and flood those cities with masked ICE agents. What's the difference between Antifa goons versus masked ICE agents, and who can literally stop you in the streets based on, and then they can profile you with your ethnicity, with your skin color, with your name, and obviously they're going to say they have some data that you are committing some crime, but there is no checks and balance at this point of time. Congress is completely muted, sidelined. They have no voice at all, and whatever President Trump says seems like, that's the Bible, and people just listen and they go with that. And that's a complete loyalty. I don't know, one of our senators, I wouldn't say senator, he was a senatorial candidate from Republican Party, the recent one from Wisconsin, he campaigned on the basis that he doesn't align with his wife 100% of the time. And how can his opposition, the current senator, Democratic senator, literally aligns with President Biden 100% of the time? This is what we are playing. We're literally watching in front of our eyes, and nobody says anything to President Trump what's the implication is. And before the election, a lot of people actually were concerned about Project 2025 and consolidation of power and fascism. We didn't even pay attention to that because we thought that Democrats lie, and they are literally lying this time too. But that's not the case. We are seeing exact opposite of what we voted for, and this is concerning. I'll give you one short example. Vinith, remember what happened during the tariff process for President Trump? He literally stopped soybean from exported to China. China was the biggest importer of soybean. What China did, they actually went to Argentina buying soybean. Now today, if you look at President Trump's tweet or truth, I would say, he literally said that it was because of China we are hurting, or farmers are hurting. John Thune, one of the senator of our country, today goes in the public TV and actually tells that people and the taxpayers' money should bail out the farmers because it's China's fault or somebody else's fault. This is a treason, I think. They are
You're quite
actually
right.
creating is a massive chaos to make sure that public dollars are spent to
And it's not, Purnamanath, it's not only chaos, in this particular department. It's chaotic everywhere. I'll come back to you. You've made some important points, and it's startling to see and observe your disappointment, though you supported the Republican cause that Donald Trump initiated his presidency with. Well, more breaking news coming in. The dollar has slipped as the U.S. Has entered its first government shutdown in nearly 7 years. The dollar slid to a 2-week low against the yen and to a 1-week troughs against the euro and the sterling. This should, Mr. Latham, worry Donald Trump. In fact, he launched this massive tirade against the BRICS as well, because he said that BRICS stood for de-dollarization. But I think Donald Trump is de-dollarizing the economy on his own.
Well, a couple of points related to that, one of which is I would encourage your viewers to look up Godwin's Law or Godwin's Razor. This country is not on the verge of becoming a fascist dictatorship. The second point I would make, and I want to make this very strongly, is Donald Trump did not shut down the federal government. In the Senate, the two parties were unable to come to an agreement about a continuing resolution and about putting together a budget. Was Donald Trump in the background? Of course he was. He's larger than life. He's not my cup of tea, by the way, but I think we need to recognize that this is a parliamentary mechanics at work. This is the way the American system is set up. It goes back to Ronald Reagan. Every president since then, including those that are preferred on the left, have gone through these kind of shutdowns. So Donald Trump did not flip a switch or pull a trigger or do anything like that. He may have bloviated, as is his style, but he is not the cause of this shutdown. That's Chuck Schumer and his counterpart on the Republican side that are responsible for this. When it comes to de-dollarization, the problem, one of the many problems with President Trump is he often simply doesn't know what he's talking about. Within BRICS, there was, at the point he made that comment, a real difference of opinion between India and China. China has a long-term project of de-dollarizing the global economy, undoing the whole Bretton Woods deal back from 1945. India does not go along with that. And there are other fissures and ruptures within the BRICS movement that make it not a monolith the way in which Donald Trump treats it. It's much more complicated than that. All of the member countries pursue their own national interest. Sometimes they align, Delhi and Beijing, and sometimes they don't align, Delhi and Beijing. And when they don't, BRICS doesn't do anything because it can't. So if we're going to assign blame for this particular shutdown, the blame lies with the Senate leadership. If we're going to talk about the drift of this country towards authoritarianism, personally, having been an immigrant to this country and having lived here now for 3 decades, that's not the vibe I'm getting. This is a blip. Donald Trump will be around for 3 more years. There will be no more Donald Trump. Troops on the streets will be challenged in the courts. The whole tariff business will be challenged in the courts. And everything he has tried to do that upsets me and my colleagues on the left of the political spectrum will be undone by the courts and by a very robust and resilient political system, which has managed to avoid, even in the 1920s, by the way, when fascism was popular in the United States and elsewhere, the institutions were resilient enough that fascism did not come here.
Quite right. That's a solid point that you've made, Mr. Latham. All right, more breaking news coming in a post on social media platform X. Russell Wout, director of the Office of Management and Budget, spoke of the Trump administration's decision to freeze billions of dollars for major projects in New York, intensifying the standoff with Democrats. Wout called the slash projects green scam funding that was used to advance the left's climate agenda. And also, we are learning that the U.S. Department of Energy has announced the termination of 321 financial awards supporting 223 projects, resulting in a savings of approximately $7.56 billion for American taxpayers amidst the U.S. government's shutdown. The department stated that those projects, overseen by the Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations, the Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy and other bodies, did not adequately advance the nation's energy needs and would not provide a positive return on investment for taxpayer dollars. We have almost run out of time. Professor Nalapat, a closing comment from you, sir, and then we'll wrap up.
Look, Vineet, I want to point out that the Republican leadership in the Senate is completely controlled by President Trump. President Trump is not some kind of a shadow waiting in the sidelines and not intervening. He intervened very directly. And secondly, he made it very plain. He has zero interest in negotiating with the Democrats. Zero interest. So his view is very clear. You either accept my view or the highway awaits you. Get lost. And frankly, so to blame the Senate leadership for what is an immense, colossal failure of the top leadership of the executive, I think is a bit unfair. Having said that, I'd like to point out, I stand by my statement that what President Trump is doing is not being viewed with favor with many in his own party. And secondly, so far dictatorship is concerned, you have masked men in the streets with guns. Frankly, people like me are afraid to go to the United States for the reason that some authorized individual, authorized by Trump administration, can push me to the sidewalk and can basically, unless I carry my passport along and show my visa, I'll be in trouble. This is not the country I'm so fond of. This is not my United States, almost my second home. I've loved this country for decades. Mr. Latham has stayed there for decades. I've loved this country for decades. This is not the United States of that time, and a United States that does not bother to look after the poor, that regards the poor, frankly, as being responsible for their poverty. But it goes back to a very faraway period in English classic economics, where basically the poor are blamed for their own problems instead of placing the blame elsewhere. I think, quite frankly, Vineet, let's be honest, there's been a total failure of leadership
You're
on the
absolutely
part
right, sir.
of the President of the United States, and he's solely responsible for many of the, as you said, idiosyncratic policies that are being pursued. And I think to blame Congress, people in the Senate and the House of
All right,
either
sir.
party for that would be to basically understate the extent of hold President Trump has got over the executive and over his own party. Thank you, Vineet.
All right, we've run out of time, but appreciate everybody who in fact came in and shared their perspective. We take a short break now. We'll be right back.